Welcome to the Tranquility Meditation Podcast. I hope this finds you well and at peace. Today, we're going to dive into Stoicism, but with a bit of a twist. You see, our source material isn't an ancient text or a philosophical treatise.
Oh, intriguing. Where are we drawing our wisdom from today?
Believe it or not, the comments section of a YouTube video on Stoicism.
That's fascinating. I never would have thought to look there.
Yeah, and it's packed with insights on how to actually apply Stoic principles in, daily life.
Yeah. So before we jump into those comments, for those who may be new to the idea, can you give us like a quick rundown of what Stoicism is, what it's all about?
Sure. At its core, Stoicism is all about recognizing what you can and can't control and focusing your energy on what you can. Your thoughts, your reactions, your choices.
Right. And the things we can't control.
Accepting them. Not as in giving up, but understanding that we can't change everything and finding peace with that.
So it's not about being passive, but rather actively choosing our perspective.
Exactly. And that's where the real power lies, right? It's about finding that inner peace, no matter what's happening around you. And one commenter really hit the nail on the head, talking about Stoicism and anger. They said, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him.
That's a powerful way to look at it. It reminds me of that saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Right. Letting anger control you, it only gives power to the person who angered you. You're letting them win, in a way.
The Stoics, they had a different approach. Instead of reacting with anger, they suggested trying to understand what might be causing the other person's anger.
Even if their behavior seems completely unreasonable.
Even then, because everyone is fighting their own battles, carrying their own burdens, we just don't always see them.
And that's where empathy comes in, right? Trying to see things from their perspective, even just for a moment.
Exactly. And, the comments also get into some really practical applications of Stoicism. There's this one quote, if you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential. Do what's essential, what the logos of a social being requires, and in the requisite way, which brings a double satisfaction, to do less, better.
Okay, unpack that a bit for us.
Sure. So, we live in a world that constantly tells us to do more, be more, have more.
Oh, yeah. The hustle culture, the pressure to constantly be achieving.
Exactly. But this quote, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's saying, hey, maybe the key to satisfaction isn't about doing everything, but about focusing on what truly matters.
Doing less, but doing it better. I like that. And it ties into another quote that someone shared. If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich.
Wow, that one really hits home. It makes you question, what you truly value. Are you chasing after external markers of success, or are you living in alignment with your own inner compass?
That's a question we should all be asking ourselves regularly, I think. And speaking of deep questions, the comments also get into how Stoicism views death.
Ah, yes. A topic many shy away from.
But the Stoics, they didn't. One quote that really stood out to me was, death is at our shoulder every day.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of our mortality.
And it could be seen as morbid, but the Stoics didn't intend it that way.
Right. They saw it as a call to action, like, hey, you have limited time, don't waste it.
Appreciate the present moment, live intentionally, make the most of every day.
Exactly. It's about living with purpose, knowing that our time here is precious.
And another quote that I think complements that perspective really well is, the world is what it is. It is not what we expect it to be.
Ah, that's a good one. Letting go of our expectations can be really liberating.
Because those expectations often lead to disappointment, right? When things don't go the way we planned.
Yeah, but this quote is saying, look, reality is what it is, whether you like it or not.
So instead of resisting it, maybe we should try to accept it. And then we can find peace within that acceptance.
That's the Stoic way. And they actually had a practice for that. It's called memento mori.
Right. Memento mori. Remind us what that means again.
It literally translates to remember death, but it's not about, being gloomy or dwelling on the negative.
It's about using that awareness of our mortality to fuel our actions, our choices, our way of life.
Exactly. It's about living fully, knowing that our time is limited. Now, another thing that might seem counterintuitive is how the Stoics saw discomfort.
As in something to avoid at all costs.
Well, most people would think so, but the Stoics actually viewed it as a path to growth.
Oh, that's right. It's about embracing challenges, isn't it?
Yes, and the comments on the YouTube video actually highlight this point.
How so?
Well, there's this one that says, apply reason to difficulties. Harsh circumstances can be softened, narrow limits can be widened, and burdensome things can be made to press less severely on those who bear them cleverly.
So it's about using our minds to find solutions, to reframe the situation.
And not just about problem solving, but about realizing that challenges can make us stronger.
Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. The Stoics, they understood that. A life of constant comfort and ease, it doesn't prepare you for the inevitable storms.
So it's not about seeking out suffering, but about recognizing that discomfort is part of life, and we can use it to our advantage.
And that's where this concept of amor fati comes in, which is, it means loving one's fate.
Amor fati, that's a powerful idea.
It is. It's about embracing what is, both the good and the bad.
Not passively, though. It's about actively accepting reality and then making choices from that point of acceptance.
Exactly. It's about finding the good in every situation, even the difficult ones.
So it all comes back to that idea of controlling what you can, your response, your attitude.
And that's where true freedom lies, according to the Stoics. They believe that true freedom comes from mastering our own minds, from controlling our thoughts and reactions.
Rather than letting external circumstances dictate our emotional state.
Right. You know, one quote from the comments really drives this home. It says, "No man is free who is not master of himself."
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that brings us to another important part of Stoicism that these YouTube comments really highlight. It's about virtue.
Right, right. It wasn't just about, enduring hardship or controlling your emotions. The Stoics had a whole philosophy of how to live a good life.
Exactly. They believe that virtue, it's like the ultimate good, like the foundation for real happiness, real fulfillment.
Yeah, I remember one commenter even listing out those specific virtues they focused on. Wisdom, justice, courage, temperance.
Right, all those classic virtues. And for the Stoics, it wasn't about being perfect, nobody's perfect. It was about striving to live by those principles every day, making choices that reflected those virtues.
So it's not just about what happens to us, but who we choose to be in the face of it.
Absolutely. And speaking of how we respond, there's this brilliant insight from the comments about how we see the world. It says, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment.
Ooh, that's a deep one. Break that down for us a bit.
Sure. It's saying that we have more control over our experience than we realize. It's not about denying reality. Like, if something bad happens, it's bad.
But we don't have to make it worse in our minds.
Exactly. It's our thoughts, our interpretations that often amplify the suffering. So the Stoics are saying, hey, you can change your perspective, and that can change your whole experience.
It's like choosing to focus on what you can learn from a challenge instead of just getting lost in negativity.
Right. It shows how powerful our minds are.
And that connects back to the Stoic idea that true freedom comes from mastering our thoughts and emotions. There's another quote. Let's see. It says, there's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? Easier said than done, for sure.
Definitely. Especially, in our world today. So much coming at us all the time, so much to worry about.
True, it takes practice. It's a conscious effort. But the Stoics, they give us some tools, some practices to help with that.
Like what?
Well, mindfulness, meditation, and also focusing on what's truly essential, letting go of the things you can't control anyway.
Instead of wasting energy on anxiety and worry, focus on what you can actually do something about.
Exactly. And this whole idea ties into this amazing passage from the comments about our place in the universe. It says, from the very first shifts of the universe, the most simple of elements gathered together to produce clouds and then solid bodies, until eventually they came together in the exact configuration needed to create you and me.
Wow. It's almost poetic.
It is. And it goes on to describe our lives as part of this grander cycle. We're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
It puts things in perspective, doesn't it? All those little worries and anxieties.
It really does. Makes you appreciate this moment, the miracle of just being alive, even with all the challenges.
Yeah. And that brings us to something that comes up again and again in these comments. The importance of acceptance.
Oh, absolutely. Accepting what you can't change. And one commenter, they put it so perfectly. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one.
Action over words, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And it goes back to that Stoic belief that a virtuous life is what leads to true happiness.
Another thing that struck me from the comments was this idea of generosity. This quote really got to me. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful one. It reminds me that it's not just about the action itself, but the heart behind it. Acting with kindness, with compassion, genuinely wanting to help.
Giving without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, seeing that shared humanity. And speaking of connecting with others, another big theme for the Stoics was cosmopolitanism.
Cosmopolitanism. Can you remind us what that means in this context?
So it's this belief that all humans, we're all citizens of the world. The Stoics, they thought we should care about everyone, not just our family or our country, but all of humanity.
They saw themselves as citizens of the cosmos, right?
Right, and that's powerful, especially in a world that often focuses on division.
It encourages us to find common ground, to understand people who are different from us,
And to remember that ultimately, we're all connected.
and that our actions have an impact beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
Speaking of action, one quote that came up a lot was about using reason to face challenges. It said, "Apply reason to difficulties. Harsh circumstances can be softened, narrow limits can be widened, and burdensome things can be made to press less severely on those who bear them cleverly."
Ah, that's a good one. It reminds us to use our minds to find solutions, not to just give in to fear or despair.
Yeah, it's about that balance, right?
Yeah.
Accepting what we can't change, but also taking responsibility for what we can.
Finding that sweet spot between surrender and action. The Stoics believed that this is how we live a virtuous life.
And that by facing challenges head on, we become stronger, more resilient.
Exactly. And that resilience, that's what helps us through those ups and downs. That's what gives us the courage to face the tough stuff and come out the other side. This connects to another important Stoic principle, self-discipline.
Right, they were big on that, weren't they?
They were. They knew that if we're not careful, our impulses and desires can lead us off track. So they talked about cultivating self-control, delaying gratification to achieve our long-term goals.
There's a quote from the comments that sums this up really well. It says, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts."
Oh, that's such a powerful reminder. The stories we tell ourselves, the things we choose to focus on, they shape our reality. So if we want to be happy, we have to be mindful of our thoughts, challenge those negative patterns.
It's about taking control of our inner world. And the Stoics believed that this was a key part of living in harmony with nature, with the logos.
Exactly. They understood how powerful our minds are, that they can either be our greatest ally or our biggest obstacle.
It's amazing how much wisdom we've been able to find in these YouTube comments about Stoicism.
Yeah, it really shows you that ancient wisdom, it still speaks to us today. It's timeless.
And it's not just theoretical. I mean, these commenters, they're sharing real-life ways to apply these principles.
Yeah, like one thing that really stood out to me was how the Stoics actually had these practices for building resilience. They would intentionally expose themselves to discomfort.
That's right. They weren't afraid of hardship. They almost saw it as a training ground.
Oh yeah, they do things like sleeping on hard beds or taking cold baths.
Exactly. Like Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, he slept on a cot.
And Seneca, the philosopher, he was known for taking ice cold baths.
They believed that a life of just constant comfort and ease could actually make you weaker.
Well,
that makes sense. If you never face any challenges, you're not prepared when they do come along.
Right. So it wasn't about, seeking out suffering for the sake of it.
Right. But about understanding that discomfort is a part of life.
And by embracing it in small ways, you can build up your resilience for the bigger challenges that life throws your way. It's like building up those mental and emotional muscles.
So when the storms hit, you're ready.
Exactly. And I think this quote from the comments really captures that spirit. It says, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us be thankful."
That's beautiful. Finding gratitude even in the midst of difficulty.
Focusing on what we have instead of what we lack, appreciating those simple things. That's real Stoic wisdom right there.
And it reminds me of that other quote we talked about, the world is what it is. It is not what we expect it to be.
Letting go of those expectations, that can be so freeing, so peaceful.
Yeah, it's about finding that peace within ourselves no matter what's happening around us.
That's what Stoicism is all about.
And it's amazing how much we were able to learn from just a YouTube comment section.
Yeah. It shows you that wisdom can come from anywhere, if you're open to it.
And these ancient ideas, they're still so relevant. Thousands of years later, they can still help us navigate life's challenges.
Absolutely. And if this has sparked your curiosity, if you want to explore Stoicism more deeply, we've included some links in the episode description.
Yeah, definitely check those out. And thank you for joining us for this Tranquility Meditation. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit peaceful.
And remember, these Stoic principles, they're tools you can use to build a more resilient and fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's about taking those ideas, those practices, and applying them to your own life, seeing what works for you.
And if you enjoyed this Tranquility Meditation, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast.
And be sure to check out our other podcasts, too. We've got a whole library of thought-provoking content to help you on your journey.
That's right. Until next time, keep seeking that inner peace. And may you find tranquility in each and every day.